But that Vicodin was really like, well, this is really sweet. You know, I don't have to focus on this pain. You know, I don't have to focus on anything negative. I can take the Vicodin, put on a happy face, keep moving.
Welcome to this week's edition of Recovery Happens. My name is Patrick Patterson, Center Manager for BW Rock. Today we're going to be sitting down with Andrew as he offers hope to encourage recovery.
Well, life growing up for me was pretty good. I always kind of like to say I was actually probably too spoiled for my own good. My mom was an RN, and my dad was a construction worker, or later a contractor, you know, when I was little. So we did pretty well as kids. I was pretty spoiled and got whatever I wanted, and you know, maybe that came back to bite me in the long run. But yeah, life was good growing up. When I was 13, I found out my mom had been diagnosed with a cancer that was a lot more serious than she originally let on. You know, over time, we found that the cancer had a very high mortality rate, and that my mom was probably not going to make it out. So she ended up passing away actually 20 years ago today. She was 52 years old. And after that, I tried marijuana here and there, never really had the experience of getting high on marijuana. But about a week after she died, I got really high on marijuana for the first time, and I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, this is exactly what I need. It just kind of put the death of my mom enough aside. From there, you know, I said, well, it's just marijuana, blah, blah, blah. It's not a big deal. I went through high school. I got good grades. I graduated. I went to college. When I was like in high school, probably 11th grade, I had a friend that had some Vicodin and ate one or two of those. And I was like, well, these are from a legal doctor. I remember my mom was sick. She had been getting prescriptions. So I'm like, well, this is legal. But that Vicodin was really like, well, this is really sweet. You know, I don't have to focus on this pain. You know, I don't have to focus on anything negative. I can take the Vicodin, put on a happy face, keep moving. To make a long story short, you know, that really progressed over time to harder prescription drugs. Once I found OxyContin, it was pretty much game over. And all in the back of my head, I'm saying, well, this isn't heroin. And heroin seemed like a stupid idea at one point in my life. But when you're sick and when your guts are churning and you can't even get out of bed, and someone says, hey, I can get you some heroin, it's the same thing as OxyContin, just do it. It made sense. So yeah, fast forward to that, I was using IV heroin every day going to school, thinking I was doing all right until it ran out. Went to a 5-day detox, said I got it figured out, and needless to say, getting out of treatment, I figured heroin was my problem. It wasn't addiction. I didn't even really have any concept of addiction. I seen my problem as a heroin problem. So I said, well, I can smoke pot again. Like, pot's all right. Pot's just what it is. And that worked for a few months, but it just became a deadly cycle, you know. And for me, I got to keep it really important in my head that abstinence is my recovery, is where I have to have my recovery. Because marijuana, I can do the marijuana maintenance program for about a month or two, but it's always back up that totem pole of drugs until I'm, you know, stealing from people I love and driving to Detroit 5 or 6 times a day to get a pack of dope. And that's really where my addiction took me. Went to a few more treatment centers. And in 2007, I'd really my family had kind of really stepped back from me, really put a distance between us, and I ended up getting arrested on a bicycle. So people always laugh about that story. But I was arrested on a pink bicycle that I found at the bus stop because I was arrested on County Line Road with 1 pack of heroin and a syringe in my pocket. And the cop said, hey, since you were such a gentleman, I'll let you choose your county jail. And nothing against Macomb, but I said, yeah, take me to St. Clair County. So I ended up in the St. Clair County jail. No one bailed me out. All that spoiled brat stuff from a kid. Like my dad always told me, hey, you go to jail, I'm not ever coming to see you. That's just how it is. I'm not supporting you if you go to jail or prison. And my dad was stern on that and never came and see me. So I sat in jail for 6 months. No one bailed me out. And through that time, the recovery process availed itself to me. And I like to share that because most people see going to jail as like, oh, it's, you know, he's only going to get worse in jail. For me, it was the exact opposite. It was the first time in my life where I was able to practice some acceptance, and they had a lot of mutual aid groups in there, and I actually met my sponsor or mentor, whatever you want to call him, in the jail there. And what stood out with this guy was that after the meeting was over, he would stay after with me about an hour and have me do step work and have me write. And the guy cared, and the guy was the guy was busy, man. The guy was a salesman. The guy had a life. The guy had kids. He just said, Andrew, I'm throwing you a life preserver. And if you choose to grab it, that's up to you. But I'm throwing you a life preserver in the 12 steps. And if you want to grab it, I'm here for you. Got out of jail, and that guy was right there. First day out, I went to a 12-step meeting up here in beautiful Port Huron, Michigan, and the rest is history. He really showed me the way. Since recovery happened, recovery gave me a basis for the rest of my life. And even though that's footed in 12-step programs, it's so much more than just that. This is really the first thing I've ever done right in my life thus far. And by staying clean, by staying in recovery, and by growing, the rest of everything's been possible. I got to go back to school, was able to get a bachelor's degree. I would say my biggest triumph for success, it's pretty stereotypical, but it's true. I met my wife in recovery. One of the things they told you not to do, but we both had I had about 2 years clean. She had just over a year clean. So we were like, we're all right, we can date. And I really credit my wife with a lot, because I was scared. I was content with living in my sister's basement, and that was going to be my life, because that's where I went after I got clean. And I was like, I'm never moving out of here. My wife's like, let's get our own house. Okay. So let's get married. Okay. I asked her, but you know what I mean? And then it was like the one thing I never really wanted was kids. I'm like, I don't want no kids. It just seems like a bunch of work and blah, blah, blah. But my wife, she like she does, she was like, let's have a kid. It'll be fun. And it's been exact opposite of what I could ever thought. Having a kid's been the greatest thing. He's 5 months old. And looking back, it's like there's really nothing else. It's like children are everything, and that's really been the biggest triumph. Is I would say, yeah, it's my son, but not. It's just going through those uncomfortable situations and coming out on the other side and seeing the blessing in it, later on.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Recovery Happens. Drugs and alcohol have affected so many lives across the nation today. Join us. Partner with BW Rock and join the cause for recovery by going to our website, bwrock.org, and click Donate. We'd like to thank our sponsor, the Blue Water Area Chamber of Commerce.